Here are the top stories for today, May 20, 2021. 500,000 doses of Sinovac jabs arrived this morning for the ramped-up COVID-19 inoculation drive of the government. DILG orders local government units to refrain from announcing the COVID-19 vaccine brand they will use. Travel time from Manila to Antipolo and vice versa will be drastically shortened once LRT2 extension project is fully operational. And Ilocos Norte villages will each have an ecotourism park. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, the Philippines received 500,000 more doses of the Sinovac vaccine. The country has so far received 5.5 million doses of the jabs. The latest batch arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport this morning. Health Secretary Francisco Duque and Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Robert Borge were on hand to receive the new Sinovac jabs. Duque said the presidential directive is that there should be no more choosing of the brand of COVID-19 vaccines as it potentially delays the vaccination and the goal of achieving herd immunity. He said people intentionally delaying getting vaccinated suffer the risk of contracting COVID-19 the more time they wait. The Philippines has so far received over 8.2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, including 5.5 million Sinovac jabs, over 2.5 million doses of the AstraZeneca, 30,000 doses of Sputnik V, and 193,000 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech. The inoculation of priority groups under categories A4 and A5 may begin in June. Coronavirus cases in the country continue to decline. This as the latest monitoring report of Octa Research show a downward trend in the daily new coronavirus cases. According to Octa Research, the country's 7-day average of daily new coronavirus cases is 5,834 or 11% lower compared to the previous week. However, a significant increase in the number of new coronavirus cases was seen in the cities of Cagayan de Oro, Davao, and Iloilo. Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque reported that the healthcare utilization rate in the Philippines has decreased from 54% in April to 46% as of May 16.
Patuloy na po, Mr. President, na bumababa ang ating pong utilization rate dahil po sa dalawang kadahilanan. Unang po ay bumababa po ang ating mga kaso at pangalawa, napapalawig po natin at nadadagdagan ang ating pong health systems capacity. Dumadagdag ang mga kama, ang isolation, COVID ward beds, ICU beds at mechanical ventilators.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, orders all local government units to refrain from announcing the COVID-19 vaccine brand that they will use. This as people tend to flock to the vaccination centers once they are informed that their preferred brand of vaccine is available. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said that the brand will only be disclosed to vaccinees once they are already at the vaccination site. Otherwise, they will have to go back to the end of the line if they refuse. Año assures that all the vaccines have gone through a stringent approval process and are therefore safe and effective. He said the best vaccine is the one that is available. Malacanang reminds the public to coordinate first with their respective local government units before proceeding to vaccination sites. This as reports of mass gatherings have reached the office of the President, particularly on what happened in Parañaque, where people flocked to receive their preferred Pfizer jabs.
Iwasan po natin ang nangyaring vaccine rollout sa isang Parañaque kahapon po kung saan nagkumpul-kumpula ng mga tao at nawala ang social distancing. Kung may schedule ang inyong lungsod na itong grupo lamang ang magpapakuna, sundin po natin ito dahil kung hindi po talaga, baka maging super spreader venues yung nilalaan natin para nga po masalba ang buhay ng ating mga kababayan.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police has deployed members of its Medical Reserve Force, or MRF, to various vaccination sites. This is to ensure that social distancing is observed at all times. PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar said the group can also assist in administering the jabs. Eleazar also ordered all regional and provincial directors to coordinate with the Department of Health in identifying police camps that could be used as vaccination sites. Taguig City opens all of its mega vaccination hubs to residents of other cities. Mayor Lino Cayetano said their latest vaccination hub will further expedite the ongoing vaccination rollout. Cayetano said their current inoculation rate stands at 5,000 per day, and they are planning to increase it for up to 8,000 per day so that they will be able to finish their population by November. Afterward, their vaccination sites will accommodate those from other cities. The city has a total of 650,000 eligible individuals for vaccination, and these persons need to be vaccinated twice to be fully protected against COVID-19. Cayetano said the city is looking to partner with more malls and other spacious establishments to provide safe and spacious places where citizens may get vaccinated swiftly. Meanwhile, residents share their experience in getting their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. They are relieved knowing they are now protected from the deadly disease.
Okay naman, ma'am. Wala naman pong masakit. Konting sakit lang po naman po. Okay naman po. Comfortable naman po. Saka mas okay po siya. Siguro po sa may mga doubt po, wag na po kayong mag-atubili po. Mas okay po to, mas ligtas po tayo dito. So, kailangan po bakuna na po tayo.
Hindi naman po ako nangihina kaya wala nararamdaman manghihina, wala. Dapat di po sila namimili ng mga bakuna kung ano pong meron po dyan. Kasi po, galing po sa taas po to. Pwede naman po magdasal po tayo bago po tayo magpabaksin po.
The Commission on Elections seeks the inclusion of its personnel in the A4 priority listing of the COVID-19 vaccination program. Commissioner Rowena Guanzon said this is to able their staff to register more voters for next year's elections. Guanzon said they are aiming to register again some 7 million delisted voters who failed to participate in 2 consecutive elections. Aside from this, the poll body also targets to register some 4 million new voters who have reached the voting age of 18 years old. Guanzon added that it would be risky for their personnel to go to the barangays without first being vaccinated. The A4 priority group is composed of frontline personnel in essential sectors and uniformed personnel. Meanwhile, Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said the Comelec is free to file a formal request on the matter to the IATF-EID, saying this is a reasonable request. In Spain, a small clinical trial found that mixing the vaccines could provide greater protection against the virus. The small clinical trial led by Spain's Carlos III Health Institute reveals that vaccinating coronavirus patients who have received the AstraZeneca jab with the Pfizer vaccine is safe and effective. It says the neutralizing antibodies in the people who received the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine increased 7-fold compared to those who just received just one AstraZeneca dose. There is also a higher increase in antibodies when 2 doses of AstraZeneca shots were given. The side effects were also relatively mild in those who received a second Pfizer jab. India reported the highest daily figure for deaths due to the coronavirus as it reached more than 4,000 new deaths yesterday, May 19. India's nationwide tally has reached 283,248 as it posted a 4,529 new deaths. The Indian Council of Medical Research said more than 320 million samples have been tested for COVID-19 in the country. Meanwhile, let us take a look at the COVID-19 figures around the world. Still to come, travel time from Manila to Antipolo in 40 minutes? How? We'll find out when we come back.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The LRT2 Antipolo station is expected to open next month as part of the LRT2 East Extension project. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade made the announcement on his Facebook page following the inspection of the Antipolo station on Thursday. Once operational, travel time from Manila to Antipolo will be cut from 3 hours via jeep or bus to around 40 minutes. Tugade also led the inspection of the LRT2 Marikina station along with the LRTA Administrator Ray Beroya. The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict is preparing fresh charges against 7 individuals who were arrested during the rescue operations for Indigenous people students inside a Cebu City University earlier this year. Lawyer Marlon Busantog, NTF-LCAC spokesperson for legal affairs and IP concerns, said the government is readying charges for violation of Republic Act No. 8371 or the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act of 1997. Earlier, the provincial prosecutor's office dismissed the kidnapping, serious illegal detention, human trafficking, and child abuse charges against the 7 suspected members of communist terrorist groups due to lack of jurisdiction. He added that the crimes were committed while transporting the 19 IP students from Davao del Norte to the University of San Carlos in Cebu City. Meanwhile, PCOO Undersecretary Lorraine Badoy, NTF-LCAC spokesperson for Social Media Affairs and Sectoral Concerns, said they will file a motion for reconsideration aside from the new IPRA violation charges mentioned by Bosantog. The new People's Army and officials of the Communist Party of the Philippines may be compelled to indemnify victims of their human rights abuses and atrocities. Undersecretary Severo Catura, spokesperson for the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, said, under the existing laws, parties that are found guilty of abuses and atrocities done during armed conflict may be compelled by the courts to indemnify their victims. Catura said they will refer the matter to the International Committee of the Red Cross, a major partner of the Philippine government for the state's continued observance of international humanitarian law. The palace officials' pronouncement came as the AFP Center on the Laws of Armed Conflict revealed last Monday that the CCPNPA was responsible for staggering 1,506 atrocities and IHL violations recorded from 2010 to 2020. These include incidents of destruction of civilian-owned properties, killings of civilians, recruitment of child warriors, the use of anti-personnel mines, and disruption of government projects. Marawi City reiterates its resolve to rebuild and promote peace side by side with its partners as the city celebrates its Week of Peace this year. More on this from Claire Guique.
The Task Force Bangon Marawi or TFBM, local government of Marawi, and its partner organizations kicked off the conduct of Marawi Week of Peace this year to emphasize the value of the pursuit of peace. With the theme, Peace Starts With Us, Give, Work, and Share, various activities are lined up from May 17 to May 23.
Ito ay isang linggong puno ng mga activities upang makatulong sa mga residente ng Marawi, mapaalam sa kanila kung anong ginagawa ng gobyerno para sa mga residente at paalala na rin ng kahagalagahan ng kapayapaan.
National Housing Authority will provide free engineering and architectural design assistance for homeowners inside Marawi's most affected area. The local government of Marawi will distribute 25 kilos of rice to displaced families living in transitory shelters. Beneficiaries of Scholar ng Marawi will also receive their assistance. Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process will spearhead peace conversation with youth and women at different transitory shelters. World Vision Philippines will distribute school kits to students in various schools. Technical Education and Skills Development Authority will hold a demonstration of agricultural skills to persons deprived of liberty and will distribute vegetable seeds. Further, Masjid Sumangkup, Barangay Tulali Complex and Central Material Recovery Facility in the city are set to be inaugurated. Inside Marawi's MAA, groundbreaking ceremonies will also be held for the construction of 8 school buildings, convention center, and Sarimanok Sports Stadium. For PNA Newsroom, Claire Giga of the Philippine Information Agency, Ligan City Information Center.
Senator Panfilo Lacson is calling for an inventory of high-value assets of government-owned and controlled corporation or GOCCs for possible sale. Lacson said there are a number of GOCCs with real estate and other assets but receive subsidies as a result of mismanagement. He said the government should retain only those that generate revenue and sell the rest. The senator explained that the extraordinary time of a global pandemic calls for extraordinary measures, such as selling the supposedly mismanaged GOCC assets. But last year, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez discounted the need to sell state assets because the government entered the pandemic on a strong fiscal position. Up next, Philippines and Japan reaffirm commitment to uphold unity in the fight against coronavirus disease. And Ilocos Norte villages will have each an ecotourism park. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng coronavirus disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Filipinos aged 15 to 49 ranked higher in terms of making decisions on their sexual and reproductive health and rights. In the latest State of the World Population Report of the United Nations Population Fund, 81% of Filipino women were able to make their own decision concerning health care, sexual and reproductive health and rights between 2007 and 2018. Those who can decline sex were at 88%, those who have decisions on contraception 94%, and those who can decide on health care 97%. UNFPA Philippines country representative Dr. Laila Hudain, however, said the country can do better to ensure that women and girls get to exercise their bodily autonomy. Commission on Population and Development Director Dr. Juan Antonio Perez III said Filipino adolescents continue to face cultural and systemic barriers in realizing their rights for bodily autonomy. Meanwhile, the DOH Center for Health Development, BICOL, urged local government units to step up healthcare services for pregnant women as part of the observance of Safe Motherhood Week on the second week of May. Dr. Rita May Angbon, head of the agency's Family Health Cluster, said part of the celebration of Safe Motherhood Week is to ensure that pregnant women receive sufficient health services to ensure that her pregnancy and the baby are safe. She added that the community must come together to protect the welfare of every pregnant woman to ensure her and her baby's safety. Japanese Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide has lauded the Philippines' principled position on the 2016 arbitral ruling mentioned by President Rodrigo Duterte before the United Nations last year. Suga conveyed his appreciation in a 20-minute phone conversation with Duterte on Wednesday. Both leaders agreed to ensure security and stability in the region under the rule of law. Duterte, meanwhile, stressed that the Philippines stands in solidarity with the Japanese people in facing the pandemic.
Both leaders reaffirmed committed to further strengthen bilateral ties and build on the achievements of 65 years of normalized relations and 10 years of strengthened strategic partnership between the Philippines and Japan.
In our news overseas, the United States House of Representatives has passed a bill that aimed at combating the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes in the country. The COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act passed in a 364-62 vote in the House, with all no votes coming from Republicans. The Senate last month voted to approve the bill 94-1, with GOP Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri casting the lone no vote. President Joe Biden was expected to sign the bill. The legislation urges the Justice Department to expedite a review of COVID-19 related hate crimes, provides for the creation of hotlines for reporting hate crimes and for law enforcement training, and directs federal agencies to work with community organizations to help raise awareness about hate crimes. Asian Americans have been wrongfully blamed for the outbreak of COVID-19, leading to hate crimes rising to as much as 164% since last year. In sports, the Vietnam Sea Games Organizing Committee has ordered all participating athletes to get COVID-19 vaccines for them to be cleared to play. Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Tolentino confirmed that the no vaccine, no participation policy on Wednesday, saying it is for the good of everyone. This development means the Philippine team for the biennial meet, scheduled from November 21st to December 2nd, would have to be vaccinated first before heading to Hanoi. But this also means all the athletes must be inoculated as soon as possible, considering the current pace of vaccination. Tolentino said they already wrote the interagency task force to prioritize the SEA Games-bound delegates. So far, only weightlifter Heidelin Diaz and boxer Yumir Marshall have been inoculated with a COVID-19 vaccine. The provincial government of Ilocos Norte is enjoining all barangays to establish their own ecotourism park where people can gather for recreation and entertainment. At least 64 villages in the province have already completed the documentary requirements for receiving financial support for the project. Each beneficiary will receive 200,000 pesos in assistance for the establishment of an ecotourism park. Part of the plan is to step up the ecotourism park on a government lot where residents can develop a communal vegetable garden with solid waste composting and a recreational park. At the provincial capital, an existing interactive park was refurbished so it can also be used as an events place amid the ongoing threat of COVID-19. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. 500,000 doses of Sinovac jabs arrived this morning for the ramped-up COVID-19 inoculation drive of the government. DILG orders local government units to refrain from announcing the COVID-19 vaccine brand they will use. Travel time from Manila to Antipolo and vice versa will be drastically shortened once LRT2 extension project is fully operational. And Ilocos Norte villages will each have an ecotourism park. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change.